Hey guys, so I wanted to come on really quickly and share with you something that really happened to me, kind of devastating, and what I did to turn everything around. So I lost all of my files. Okay, and if you guys have been watching my channel, you know that I'm a graphic designer, web designer, artist, business owner, mom. So you can imagine the amount of files that I use on a daily basis, hundreds of files, all of my client files, business files, family photos. I had everything saved on an external hard drive, which was a 1 terabyte. It was a WD hard drive. And one day I went to access things on my computer and everything was gone. My hard drive would not load. And so I had backed some things up on another drive, but they weren't like the most up-to-date files. So there were a ton of new projects, a ton of new client work that hadn't been backed up yet. So as I had really started with my business this past year, like rebranding and really going full time with things, one of my goals was data recovery, like an action plan, disaster recovery plan, and I did not follow through with it in a timely manner. And so I was preparing for something like this to happen, and it did. So lesson learned: when you have that feeling and you hear that voice telling you to do something, just jump on it and do it, because I didn't, and I lost everything. So I was devastated, really devastated. And I just wanted to recover things first and foremost before I figured out the next steps. So I did my research. I found Secure Data Recovery. This is a reputable company, and doing my research, getting some different price quotes, I decided to go with them. Now, unfortunately, this was a very pricey project to get this, recovered, and it's just a lesson learned. I just said, I'm gonna go ahead and pay the money. So this was very expensive. So I did have the option. I said, okay, well, I'm just gonna get the files. Like I said, I had some things backed up, emailing files to clients. So I probably, would have been okay, but you never know what you need until you need it. You know what I mean? And we're talking hundreds of files. And so I just didn't want to wait for the day that someone comes to me and maybe I did work for them years ago and they're like, okay, can you update this? Or, I forgot about a project, and then I go to need the files and I don't have them because I didn't get these files retrieved. So I opted to go ahead with the recovery, and it was just devastating, just the idea of like waiting also to see, are they going to be able to recover things? Did I lose everything? I started to think about a couple of things that I know I didn't have backed up because they were so recent. And so luckily they were able to retrieve nearly 100% of my files. And so I probably had like 3 files that they were unable to recover, and they were not really files that I needed like that. So I was so happy about it. It was a little bit of a lengthy process. It took weeks. I thought it would take like maybe 1 to 2 weeks, but it took longer, maybe like a month or so, because my file was really corrupted. And so they had to do a lot of work to retrieve things. So I just had to be patient. Luckily, there was nothing that I needed that urgently, so I was able to wait. So now moving forward, during the process, during the waiting period, I went ahead with that action plan, and I developed my disaster data recovery plan, and I went ahead and figured out another backup. And so the cloud backup definitely is something that is definitely needed because it's on a cloud server. So I already had tons of storage space that I'm paying for through Google and through Apple. through the iCloud and through the Google Drive. So my photos automatically sync up to Google through my Gmail account. So I have my cell phone automatically syncing with the Google Cloud. Even though I have an Apple phone, I have the Google Photos versus the iCloud. So my computer, my Apple computer, my laptop, I synced it to where my files are saved in a folder on my drive. So I have a documents folder and I have everything in folders organized the way I did on my hard drive with my client work, my business files, my personal files, and I have all of that syncing up to my Google Cloud. And so they're all backed up there. So I have them on my computer and I have them also on the cloud. And I'm also going to have an external hard drive as well, like I did. And I'll have that as well. So it'll be like 3 places where my files are stored. So if one thing goes out, then I'll have like 2 other backups. So I feel really confident about this setup. There were a lot of other things that I looked at. I do use my email system with Microsoft. So I was going to maybe get something that way, but it would have been another subscription. And so I just utilized what I'm already paying for. So I was already paying for storage space through Google. I already had the iCloud. So if I need to do that, I have storage there that I'm already paying for. And I'm just going to do that. And then I can archive files as they get older, or I may not need them there. I can archive them and maybe save them on 1 or 2 external hard drives. But I think that this was just a lesson learned for me to make sure that you are always backing up your files, especially if this is your business, your livelihood, all of those things. And so lesson learned to me is to make sure that I jump on those things right away. So when you're a business owner, you have to make sure that you have those systems in place so that you don't end up with situations like I did where you lose things, where you have to pay a ton of money to recover things. But I'm just thankful that I was able to recover it, because it could have been a situation where my files were totally corrupted and unretrievable. So I'm just so happy that I have my files back and I can move forward, making sure that I have everything in place that I need to back up my files. All right, guys, so thanks for listening, and hopefully this was helpful for you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.